Today I want to ask a question and sort of answer it myself. And that is, what's the current attitude of African American people toward the fight for justice? Are African American people tired of fighting for racial justice? Stay with me. That's what I want to talk about today. Hello, everybody. I am Attorney Augustus Corbett, one half of the Defiant Lawyers, and each and every week we bring you at least one legal analysis of some story trending regarding politics, policies, personalities, or pop culture to empower you with the information you need to defy this unjust legal system and to nullify systemic racism. If that interests you, please like, share, comment, subscribe, and click the bell so you'll get notified every time we upload one of these videos. Before I get into what I want to talk about today, remember, please go and buy a copy of my book, Education and Justice, especially if you have African American males in the public school system. This book will do you a lot of good. Also, the BARS program is up. Registration is open. People are already registering. We're very happy about that. So, go to our website and register. You can find the registration page at lljp.org, lljp.org. And thank you. Some of you have called and have offered to donate toward the BARS summer reading program for perhaps parents who cannot afford to buy their children books. We really appreciate you so much. That is the kind of community that we're trying to build. Thank you for all of your support. And we didn't even ask for those donations. People just voluntarily called us and said that they would like to help. Again, we appreciate that. All right, so are blacks tired of fighting for racial justice? That's what I want to talk about in this video. Are blacks tired of fighting for racial justice? I certainly hope not, because Coretta Scott King gave us some extremely important wisdom before she passed. She says here, struggle is a never-ending process. Struggle is a never-ending process. Freedom is never really won. You earn it and win it in every generation. That is some great wisdom. She is telling us that what she did and her husband and that generation did to gain the progress that they were able to gain for all of us, that doesn't mean the struggle is over. Because then the next generation had to step in and fight that fight all over again. And then the generation after that, which would likely be our generation, we're now having to fight that same fight. So, whether blacks are tired of fighting for racial justice, let me just tell you, we cannot allow ourselves to get tired. So what I'm going to show you, though, is we have gone through phases. Hey, everyone, I am Attorney Augustus Corbett, one half of the Defiant Lawyers. Recently, I took a look at our analytics and I noticed something shocking. Many of you watch our videos and I believe you enjoy them, but you haven't subscribed yet. What are you waiting for? Again, I was shocked because I know our content is empowering and informative. Plus, our 2024 goal is to have 150,000 subscribers before the end of the year. Please help us by hitting that subscribe button, especially you young folks. We particularly want to increase our number of young subscribers. Thanks for all your continued support. We appreciate it very much. So the first one, I call it Black empathy towards racial justice. Black empathy towards racial justice. All right, let me define empathy. Empathy is from the Greek word empatheia. It is a combination of two words, en and pathos. En means inner, and pathos means feelings or sufferings. Joined together, these words mean passion for something, inner passion for something, or suffering for something or someone. You know, when you have empathy for someone or something, you sort of get in their shoes. You kind of feel their pain. So Black empathy for racial justice was really high during a certain period of time. I'll tell you what it is in just a moment. So let's define justice. Justice is the Hebrew word mishpat. 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 Justice is equality and fairness for all individuals, regardless of race, ethnicity, or background. It ensures that everyone receives equal treatment under the law and in society. White supremacy contradicts this principle by advocating for the superiority of white people over others, leading to systemic discrimination, inequality, and unfair treatment of non-white individuals. So you can't have justice and white supremacy at the same time, because justice is equality, fairness, and equity for everyone, despite one's race, ethnicity, or background. Additionally, systems and institutions influenced by white supremacy often perpetuate racial disparities in areas such as criminal justice, education, employment, healthcare. True justice seeks to dismantle these systems of oppression and create structures that ensure equal opportunities and rights for everyone. The period from slavery to the passage of the civil rights legislation was the period when African American empathy towards justice was the greatest. So we had this period from 1619 to 1979. That is from the time we arrived here until the tail end of the civil rights movement, where Black empathy, Black passion for justice was greatest. And obviously that was because that was the period where we suffered the most. I mean, literally, their boot was on our necks and we could not breathe. So that lasted for several hundred years, from 1619 to 1979. All right, that brings us to a second period, a period that I call Black apathy towards justice, from 1980 to 2020. Now let's talk about what apathy is. Apathy is a lack of feeling. We still got that P-A-T-H-Y word, pathos, which again means feelings, and the prefix a, which means no or none or absent of. So apathy is the absence of any passion or feeling. So apathy is when someone doesn't care, they're indifferent. So this period here from 1980 to 2020, many Blacks began to become apathetic about racial justice. Why is that? Because many Blacks began to think, we made it. We have won this war. We have won this fight. They forgot what Coretta Scott King said, that the fight for justice and freedom and equality is never over. Each generation has to win it all over again. So that generation in the 1980s through 2020, just 4 years ago, that generation, or many in that generation, began to think, this is over, we got this. Look at this nice house that I'm living in. Look at this nice neighborhood that I'm living in. Look at these fancy degrees that I have. I am on top of the world. If only mama and daddy could see me now. And that allowed apathy to set in with not all Blacks, but many, many. And guess what happened in the latter part of that period. You got it. Obama was elected. Former President Obama was elected in 2008. So, whoa, we really have arrived. We really have made serious strides. And I don't disagree with that. We have made a lot of progress. But this is not the time to take our feet off the gas pedal. We need to push it even more because, as you've heard me say many times, the Obama election caused them to get in high gear. So we're fighting that white backlash now. Okay? So apathy set in because of the progress that we had certainly made. Again, apathy is a lack of feeling, a lack of emotion, a lack of passion, and a lack of concern. Now, here are some reasons why Black apathy toward justice set in. No historical context. They don't know what it's like going to the back of the restaurant. They don't know what it's like going to the colored section. I got a taste of that. I remember those days as a teenager. I remember that. This generation doesn't have that context. And again, great progress with the election of the first Black president and the first Black female vice president. And then materialism, self-centeredness, right? We really changed on this issue here. We really became me-focused, materialism-focused, self-centered, not about community anymore, not about how my brother is doing, not about how those are doing in the urban areas. No, I'm good out here in the suburbs. So I don't really care what's going on with other Blacks. I don't really care with what's going on with the community. I don't really care with what whites are doing to set us back because I have made it. That's materialism. That's self-centeredness. And that is an enemy to the fight for racial justice and equality. But it's there. You see it. A lot of these folks who are planning to vote for Trump, that is the reason why they plan to vote for Trump. Because they're looking at their own situations and not the situation of a lot of African American people. They could care less. Some of them are intending to vote for Trump for tax breaks and for other reasons. So it's not about the community. It is all about self for a whole lot of people. Why? Because apathy has set in. Apathy has set in. It's no longer the big issue of the Black community to fight for racial justice, racial equality. Because, again, we're living wherever we want to live, driving whatever we want to drive. Never mind the fact that a lot of that stuff is leveraged with debt because we only own less than 4% of this nation's wealth. Don't care about that so long as we look like we're doing well. You see, the fight for justice is never over. Never over. As the late, great Miss Coretta Scott King told us. A lack of understanding of justice is another reason why there's apathy in the African American community. Social media propaganda. We have never seen the level of social media propaganda as we see in this day and hour. There are Black provocateurs on YouTube who are simply flat out misleading the Black community. They are misinforming and causing many Black men especially to support Donald Trump. I'll talk about that in just a moment. There are also these Russian disinformation centers that are putting out all sorts of misleading disinformation that will cause many Black people, based on some data that we're seeing, to vote for Donald Trump. And again, I will talk about that. In this section, let's talk about this. Black antipathy. Black antipathy towards racial justice. 2023 to present is when I sort of started seeing this. 2023 to present. Like I said, the period from like the 1980s to 2020 was a period of apathy. Well, things have gotten worse with a lot of black folks. Not only are they apathetic, but they are antipathetic. There are a lot of black people who not only not have any passion for racial justice, but they have become anti-justice. Believe it or not, there are black people who have become anti-justice. Now, let me explain what I'm saying. So let's start out with defining antipathy. Antipathy. Remember I said Pathy is the word pathos, which means feelings. Anti, as we know, means opposition or opposed to. So antipathy is the opposition, feelings of opposition toward justice. Now, let me read this that I have on the screen here. Some blacks, especially some black men, are experiencing more than apathy. They are literally joining forces with our oppressors, that is, with white supremacists. These African American men seem to be experiencing antipathy towards justice. Not just apathy, just being indifferent, but they're literally and consciously joining forces with Trump, MAGA, Project 2025, the white supremacists, who are, again, very blatantly anti-black and anti-racial justice. Yet despite that, you have those black provocateurs on YouTube who are saying Biden is a white supremacist, Biden is Jim Crow, so vote for Trump because the Democrats have done nothing for you. Just bold-faced lies, bold-faced disinformation, bold-faced disinformation. Just yesterday, the Urban League released its 2024 State of Black America report, which includes a section that outlines some of the tremendous progress and accomplishments of the Biden administration, the Biden-Harris administration for African Americans. So it's a flat out lie that the Democrats have done nothing for blacks. And then if we look over the last 60 or 70 years, the Democratic Party, and I have issues with the Democratic Party, trust me, but when it comes to the fight for racial justice, the GOP has a dismal record, and the Democratic Party has done a fair job, a decent job, I would say. There's much more work to be done. So I'm not going to give them an A+, but I'm going to give them a much higher grade than the GOP, who has fought against every effort to improve the lives of Black Americans. All right? So antipathy has set in with a lot of African American men. And obviously the ones on the screen here, they are unapologetic about it. We talked about them. They are pro-Trump to the core, to the hilt. They don't care that they are supporting the party of white supremacists. I mean, they just don't care. This tendency of some African American men to become antipathetic towards justice is very bizarre, since slavery, Jim Crow, and current systemic racism targets African American men in particular. However, the fact that some African American men are joining forces with our oppressors, it's not novel, it's not new. We've seen this before. Black men sold us into slavery. Some black men helped manage the enslaved, helped manage the plantation, helped Europeans colonize Africa, assisted enslavers in stopping slave rebellions, spied on civil rights leaders, and so much more. So this is not new. We've seen this before, where some black men literally join forces with the white supremacists. And they do so for a number of reasons: self-hatred, profit, fear, coercion, etc. Whatever the reason may be, admittedly, it is very disturbing for some African American men to work with our oppressors. And it is especially disheartening for those of us, like myself, and I'm sure many of you, who work to empower African American men. Many of us are out here literally working to empower black men. And some of them got the nerve to join the forces that we fight every day. It's baffling. It's not new, like I just said, but it's baffling why men would join forces with people who are trying to destroy them. It makes no sense whatsoever. But we can't give up on them. Yeah, I said it. We cannot give up on them. So what I suggest we do, there are 3 words that I want to leave you with. 1, we got to be present. These brothers out here who are kind of looking toward Trump for whatever reason, we got to be present. We got to be in their ear. We got to keep talking to them. Some of you have told me you got brothers, you got nephews and other black men in your family who are stone cold Trump supporters and they won't listen. You can't tell them anything. Well, listen, continue to be present. Continue to speak to them. Continue to try to change their minds. Don't give up on them. Be present. Be present. Don't give up. If you're present, then you can be persuasive. If you cut them off, leave them alone, then you will not have the opportunity to persuade them, to convince them that Trump means us no good and all the people that he would bring into the White House. So to fight all this disinformation that these men are receiving, again, we need to be present so that we can be persuasive. And third of all, we got to be persistent. We got, like 6 months between now and November? You got to be persistently in the ear of your brother, your uncle, your father, your, son who is talking about supporting Trump. Be persistent. So remember, first be present so that you can be persuasive. And then you need to be persistent and work on the males in your family who are getting a whole lot of disinformation. Again, a lot of times from these black YouTubers and those black conservative men and Candace Owens and so on. Well, you need to be the counterbalance in their ear so that that disinformation can be uprooted. All right? Present, persuasive, persistent. Present, persuasive, persistent is our only chance to bring those brothers back into the fold. All right? So that's what I wanted to share with you today. And the fight for racial justice is definitely not over. I hope you're not tired. I hope that you got some more fight in you, because I keep going back to what Miss Coretta Scott King said. This fight is never over. Let me put her back on the screen. This fight is never over. Each generation has to fight its own fight for racial justice and for racial equality. Struggle, she says, is a never-ending process. Freedom is never really won. You earn it and win it in every generation. Every generation. Okay, I want that to sink in. Also, by the time this video comes out, probably May 17th, this will be the anniversary date of the Brown versus Board of Education case. A very, very important case that desegregated public schools. May 17th, 1954. And then the second Brown decision came out in 1955, and it changed everything. It changed everything. So I just want you to keep in mind May 17th as you go about your day. All right. I am Attorney Augustus Corbett, one half of the Defiant Lawyers. Thank you for listening today. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, click the bell, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Peace.